Welcome to Narayana IAS Academy. This is Sureka Bhaskar presenting to you the daily news analysis. So for today's discussion, we've taken up a number of topics from the Hindu and the Indian Express, which are both important and relevant for the UPSC CSE examination. Now let us actually have a look at the topics. The first topic has been taken from page number 1 of The Hindu. Gig workers suffer from lack of social security regulation study. So this particular article discusses about a recent study that had been conducted by People's Association in Grassroots Action and Movements, which has actually observed that the gig workers in India actually undergo a number of challenges from their extensive working hours. There is a lack of social security benefits as well as adequate regulations with respect to that of the same. So as a broader perspective, we'll be discussing about who are the gig workers and what is the gig economy. Okay. So moving forward, the second article has been taken from page number 11 of the Indian Express, which talks about a dialogue among healers. So here we'll be dealing with the concept of the traditional medicines and how it is different from that of the orthodox medicine, and what is the proposal of integrated medicine by combining the traditional and the orthodox medicines, and what are the challenges it will be facing with respect to that of competitiveness, cooperation, as well as coexistence. So moving forward, the third article has also been taken from the Indian Express, page number 19, Center mulls 1 trillion scheme for private sector to boost deep tech. So here we'll be discussing about the government's consideration of a comprehensive scheme in order to provide a capital compensation of rupees 1 trillion to the private sectors in order to adopt the indigenous deep tech as well as cutting edge technologies for the field of defense and security, electronics, as well as energy sectors. Moving forward, the fourth article has been taken from page number 21, which actually reads India's indigenous 5th generation fighter jets AMCA features and why is it important. Here we'll be discussing about India's 5th generation advanced medium combat aircraft, what are its features and why it is actually important for India's defense as well as security. And the last article for discussion has been taken from page number 14, former Supreme Court judge sworn in as the Lokpal Chairperson, where here, as the title actually suggests, we'll be discussing about the institutions of Lokpal as well as Lokayukta, and we'll be discussing on the recent appointment of a former Supreme Court judge, Mr. Ajay Manik Rao, as the chairperson of the Lokpal in Rashtrapati Bhavan. And towards the end of the session, we will be discussing few prelims as well as the mains practice questions. Embark on your UPSC journey with Narayana IAS Academy. Our esteemed 5-year and 3-year integrated programs are now open for admissions in Hyderabad, Vijayawada and Nellore. Our courses include robust research and development backed initiatives such as our daily news analysis, which gives us a comprehensive view program for a broader understanding of current affairs. Our NCERT program, a foundational course that covers all NCERT syllabus, which is crucial for the UPSC preparation. And followed by this, our mentorship program for personalized guidance and regular test series for systematic learning and assessment is available for your subscription. So begin your journey to becoming a leader with Narayana IAS Academy today. The first article for the day is gig economy workers actually suffer from lack of social security regulation, says study. So this particular article discusses about the recent study that had been conducted by the People's Association in Grassroots Action and Movements, and according to this particular study, the gig workers in India actually had faced a number of challenges, especially with respect to the extensive or the increasing number of their working hours. The second one is lack of social security benefits as well as adequate regulations with respect to that of the same. So in this particular article, we'll be discussing about what is gig economy and who are the gig workers, okay? And this can be mapped to GS paper 3, economic growth and development for the mains examination. So moving forward, there has been a previous year question in the year 2021 that directly asked the role of gig economy in the process of empowerment of women in India, okay? So moving forward, now let us understand what this particular study had actually spoken about, what are the key takeaways from the study, and we will actually dwell on the broader concept of gig economy as well as gig workers, okay? So according to a recent study conducted by the People's Association in Grassroots Action and Movements, gig workers in India face extensive working hours as well as suffer from a lack of social security benefits and adequate regulations with respect to that of the same. Moving forward, now let us actually understand what are the key takeaways from this particular study, okay? So the study was basically a survey of a number of cab drivers as well as a delivery persons across 8 major cities in India. And the key takeaways or the observations include 1/3 of the app-based cab drivers, they actually worked over 14 hours daily, okay? And none of the surveyed workers took a day off weekly, okay? Followed by that, it observed that there was a lot of physical exhaustion as well as high accident risk due to the demanding work schedules because of the extending working hours. The next one is there was significant dissatisfaction with the pay that was given by the company to these gig workers, and the customer behavior issues were also reported. Moving forward, now let us actually understand what is a gig economy and who are these gig workers, okay? So, what is a gig economy? Gig economy is actually a labor market which is more characterized, or it is heavily inclined towards freelancers as well as independent contractors as against the conventional type of an permanent employee, okay? So here we can understand that a gig economy is a labor market that relies heavily on temporary, part-time positions and freelancers rather than full-time permanent employees. And according to the Code on Social Security 2020, it actually defines gig worker as a person who performs work or participates in a work arrangement, and he also earns from such activities outside of a traditional employee-employer relationship, okay? And it is important to understand that there are two types of gig workers. One is platform workers, the next one is non-platform workers. Now let us understand what is the difference between the two. In platform workers, what happens is those who actually use an online algorithmic matching platform or app to connect with the customers, okay? So here example, if we take Amazon is actually a platform, okay? Amazon provides a platform where it connects the seller with that of a customer. So this is actually an example of platform worker, and anything else that actually falls out of this platform workers are called as the non-platform workers, and this actually includes the construction workers as well as non-technology based temporary workers, okay? So now moving ahead, now let us understand the status of gig economy in India, and this status has been the observation of the recently released Niti Aayog report, which was titled India's Booming Gig and Platform Economy, okay? So according to the recent Niti Aayog report, the total gig workforce is in 2020-2021 there were around 77 lakh gig workers, which actually constituted 1.5% of the workforce, and it is further expected to expand to around 2.35 crore by 2029-2030, which is a significant 4.1% increase of the workforce. Next one, if we see the skill-wise distribution, the medium-skilled people were actually 47%, high-skilled among them were 22%, as well as low-skilled were 31%. Moving on, the age-wise composition, it was observed that the median age was around 29 years of age. Moving ahead, if we see the gender-wise composition in the gig economy, there was a majority of male population or concentration, which was around 73%, when it is also observed that there is an increased female participation currently. And also, if we see the sector-wise distribution, the common sectors where this gig economy actually performs efficiently include transportation, food delivery like Zomato, and then we have Blinkit, Swiggy, etc., as well as e-commerce platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, etc. Moving on, now let us actually look into what are the key drivers of gig economy in India. The first one is young demographic dividend. That is, it is important to know that nearly 66% of the population in India is under the age of 35, and here they are actually suitable for being absorbed into the gig economy. The second one, there is urbanization as well as rising consumer demands, okay? That is, by 2050, it is actually estimated that India's urban population, which will be projected to increase to 67%, okay? And next one is supportive government policies. Of late, we actually have associated government policies with respect to gig economy, such as we have Digital India program, Startup India program, as well as Skill India program. And finally, the technology. That is, there has been an increased usage or the adoption of these smartphones, okay? That has increased by 71%, and there has been 48% increase in the internet penetration as well. Now moving forward, let us actually understand the key advantages as well as disadvantages of this particular gig economy. First, let us discuss the advantages. First one is actually the flexibility. What do you mean by flexibility? That is, workers here actually have the ability to choose their working hours according to their own schedules, and this actually provides them with a high degree of flexibility. Okay, and there is also versatile job options. That is, you can, if you want, you can be in the food delivery, or you can actually be on the e-commerce platform, etc. Okay, and there are also a number of entrepreneurial opportunities. This is nothing but gig workers can provide opportunities for workers to act as entrepreneurs, start their own businesses, and then work with multiple clients, etc. Okay, such as what Amazon actually does. The next one, there is independence. I told you, there is a higher degree of independence on choosing what is your area of interest over here. Other also includes cost efficiency. That is, companies can actually save cost by hiring gig workers rather than paying a definite amount of salary for a regular employee or a permanent employee. The other one, it actually increases your income generation, and also there is global reach. That is, you can connect with the clients or the customers through online platforms, apart from, who are far away from your country as well. Now moving on, let us actually understand what are the disadvantages of the same gig economy. First one is, there are no employee benefits that are actually given. That is, there is no social security which is given. There is no paid leave concept there. There is no leave or any kind of wage regulation. And this actually, here what happens is, the majority of the workers are under the mercy of the platform companies. The next one is irregular working hours, which we actually saw, right? So here there is lot of job insecurity also, increased number of working hours. There's lack of formalization. Lack of formalization as in it actually operates as an informal sector, right? So it actually limits the ability to access the credit, government support program, as well as other resources. And also there are poor working conditions. And there is, more importantly, there is inconsistent income. Okay, it is more of a daily wage. And also this results in limited career growth, followed by a sense of social isolation, because they actually do not have most of the important social connections like a regular employee has. So moving forward, what are the regulatory framework for the gig economy in India is that, first one is the Code on Social Security 2020. This actually brought the gig workers within the ambit of the labor laws for the first time, and this actually stipulates that the central and the state governments must frame suitable social security schemes for the gig workers, especially on the matters relating to their health, with respect to that of maternity benefits, with respect to their PFs, as well as accident benefits, among the others. Next one, it also mandates compulsory registration of all the gig as well as the platform workers to avail the benefits under many schemes. The next regulatory framework is the Code of Wages, that is 2019. It provides universal minimum wage as well as a floor wage across organized and unorganized sectors. Next one is eShram portal. This actually helps to create a database of unorganized workers, including the gig workers. Now let us see what are the number of recommendations that have been given by the Niti Aayog for enhancing the gig economy. Okay. So the first one is incentivizing platformization, which is nothing but launch of Platform India initiative, which is on the line of Startup India, in order to boost your platform businesses. Next one is access to skill as well as finance, where financial products and cash flow based loans for the platform workers must be given, and there has to be a collaboration with the Ministry of Skill Development for skilling as well as for the job creation. Also, there has to be focus on women. That is, we have to implement programs that actually raises the knowledge of the gender issues as well as accessibility, so that there can be more number of women who can be employed in the gig economy. Next one is race approach for the social security. So what is this race talks about is, it is recognize, allow, incorporate, support as well as ensure. Okay. So what does this mean is, you have to recognize the varied nature of the platform work, allow the innovative financing mechanisms for social security, incorporate the specific interests of platforms and workers in the scheme design, followed by supporting the workers in order to subscribe to government schemes through awareness campaigns, and finally ensure benefits that are accessible to all the workers. The next article that we'll be discussing about is a dialogue among healers. So this particular article discusses about how the modern medical practitioners are being encouraged in order to collaborate with the traditional form of system. And the author of this particular article says that, however, this actually sounds very efficient theoretically, but practically it actually has its own form of challenges, that is integrating the traditional as well as the Western form of medicine actually has its own challenges with respect to that of the cooperation, with respect to that of coexistence and competitiveness. So in this particular article, we'll be discussing about the concept of integrated medicine and the traditional medicine and how both are actually different from each other. And this is actually important and can be mapped to GS paper 3, economic growth and development for the mains examination. So moving forward, we have a previous year question in the year 2019. There was a question which had been, how is the government of India protecting traditional knowledge of medicine from patenting by pharmaceutical companies? So this traditional system of medicine, the pharmaceutical industry and the traditional knowledge of medicine, all this becomes important for your mains examination in particular. So now moving into the context of this particular article, modern medical practitioners are being increasingly encouraged in order to collaborate with the traditional medical systems in order to foster a holistic approach to patient care. And the author actually says that this particular form of integrated medicine, that is integrating the modern as well as the traditional system, it is actually promising to, it is theoretically promising as it sounds, but there are practical challenges that this integration will face with respect to that of competitiveness, coexistence as well as cooperativeness. Okay, so now let us understand the 3 C's, that is the cooperativeness, the competitiveness as well as the coexistence. The first one is the competitive scenario. Let us understand. The author says that in a competitive setting, the traditional and the modern systems, both of them, they actually compete for dominance. Okay. So in that rivalry, what happens? There will be a lot of direct conflicts between different professional bodies, and that will lead to legal battles or legal confrontations. And so each side, what happens, eventually will highlight their advantages and will focus more on, expressing the limitations that the other side actually has. So this will create a combative atmosphere where the winning patient loyalty actually becomes very difficult for both of the systems. So this is a competitive scenario where there is a rivalry of medical systems. Moving on, let us actually look at this coexistence approach. Okay, coexistence model that the author speaks of is nothing but he calls for mutual respect between both the systems, that is both of the modern as well as the traditional systems. Thereby there is actually prevention of encroachment of each other into each other's boundaries. Okay, and here he actually talks about living on a model of live and let live concept. And the next C of the 3 C's is nothing but cooperation model. Okay, so this actually focuses on the vision of integrative medicine. That is, you actually have to integrate both the forms of medicine, the modern with the traditional, in order to foster a holistic patient care. So this is the cooperation model. Now moving on, let us actually understand the basics as to what is integrated medicine is all about. Okay, so integrated medicine actually refers to using traditional medicine systems. What are the traditional systems? They are like the Ayurveda, Yoga, Naturopathy, Unani, Siddha as well as homeopathy, along with orthodox systems as a part of treatment. Okay, so what are these orthodox systems? This is nothing but the allopathy. That is where drugs are actually used in order to treat the symptoms, or surgery is actually followed. Then the significance of yoga, Ayurveda and the traditional form of system have grown especially due to the challenges of the NCDs, that is the higher or the increasing amount of non-communicable diseases in India, the multi-drug resistant diseases, the lifestyle disorders that we have as well as the long-term diseases. Okay. So moving forward, let us actually understand what is the particular significance of integrated medicine. This actually enables in order to, or it helps us in order to achieve a comprehensive healthcare. That is, integrated medicine, it leverages India's rich medical heritage, as it actually has, the combination of both the traditional as well as the orthodox system, offering a more holistic as well as a patient-centered approach to healthcare that addresses physical, emotional as well as spiritual well-being. Moving forward, it has enhanced accessibility also, that is integrated medicine. It provides a wider range of treatment options, especially for chronic conditions, lifestyle disorders and diseases which are, resistant to the conventional treatments. Now moving forward, let us understand the traditional medicine systems, okay? So here, as per WHO, the traditional medicine system is the total sum of knowledge, skills and the practices which are indigenous and different cultures have used over a particular, their time to maintain health and to prevent, diagnose and treat physical as well as any form of mental illness. And in India, we have yoga, Ayurveda as well as Siddha that has been part of India's tradition historically, as well as others such as homeopathy that became part of the Indian tradition over the years. So initially it was yoga, Ayurveda and Siddha which was in India's historical tradition. Okay. So here if you see where and all these systems of medicines are actually practiced across India, Ayurveda and yoga are practiced widely across the country, whereas Siddha system is followed predominantly in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. This is actually very famous down. And then Soa Rigpa system, this is actually practiced mainly in Leh Ladakh and the Himalayan regions such as Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, Darjeeling, Laos and Spiti regions. Okay, so this is actually very important to actually understand how these systems actually work and which part of the country it is followed. Now looking at the orthodox medicine system, this is nothing but a system in which the medical doctors and other healthcare professionals such as the nurses, pharmacists and therapists, as I told you, they will treat your symptoms and the diseases using various forms of drugs, radiation, or in extreme cases like cancer, they actually use surgery. And it is also called as allopathic medicine, biomedicine, conventional medicine, mainstream medicine, or it is in simple terms, it is Western medicine, as you can actually see this here. And moving forward, now let us understand what are the major bottlenecks in the traditional form of systems. So here, if you look at this infographics, we have a detailed explanation of what are the major bottlenecks, okay? So let us actually start with the first one. There is a trust deficit. That is, Ayurveda often isn't the first choice, of course, because we have our own doubts about the effectiveness about the theories as well as the practices that it actually follows and effectiveness of the Ayurveda treatment, okay? The next one is lack of scientific validation. Like the English form of medicine or the Western medicine, there is no scientific validation, and that is why it struggles to align with contemporary scientific advancements, and this actually results in a diminished evidence-based standing. So people always doubt to actually approach this particular traditional system. Next one, there is substandard education. That is, the quality of Ayurvedic education, especially at the graduate level, it does not have any kind of entrance exam or a particular, criteria for you to become an Ayurvedic doctor. So, especially at the graduate and the postgraduate level, and this is actually frequently considered inferior. And moving on, there is lack of mandatory rural service. That is, unlike the MBBS graduate, the Ayush graduates from public institutions are not required to serve in rural areas, affecting practice as well as exposure. The next one, there is a deficient research ecosystem. That is, there is a notable absence of robust research as well as science ecosystem which is involved with that of traditional form of medicine. Moving on, trial and error methods are actually used in the Ayurvedic system, where Ayurvedic practitioners, they rely on trial and error methods to find the effectiveness of the treatment, and this will actually further the period in which they trial and error, this will aggravate the disease, right? So this will potentially harm their reputation in the future. The next one is limited integration with the modern medicine is actually one of the major disadvantages of this traditional system. That is, Ayurveda is deemed safe and effective for 60 to 70% of the primary care illness like the cold, cough, etc. But it needs better integration with the modern medicine for comprehensive care. And the last one is overuse and regulation issues. That is, Ayurvedic medicines are often sold as over-the-counter products without even any kind of prescription which has been prescribed by any doctor. And they face less stringent regulation, and there is no legal requirement for pharmacists to dispense these medications. So these are the major bottlenecks which are associated with the traditional form of this one. So moving forward, let us actually look at few of the government initiatives, that is in order to promote the Ayush systems. The first one is the National Ayush Mission, which is a centrally sponsored scheme for Ayush development as well as promotion. This supports the cultivation of medicinal plants, production as well as export of the Ayush products. Moving on, WHO Global Center for Traditional Medicine has been established in Gujarat, and this actually focuses on traditional medicine innovation and technology for global healthcare. Moving on, special Ayush visa category. This is for foreign nationals who are actually seeking Ayush therapies in India. Next one is Ayush Mark. This actually certifies the quality of the Ayush products, and also establishment of Ayush parks for promotion as well as manufacturing. Next one is Ayush Ahar, which is a new category of Ayurvedic nutritional supplements. Next one is there has been an establishment of National Ayush institutions, where institutions like AIIA in Goa as well as NIUM in Ghaziabad as well as NIH have been established here, and they boost infrastructure and promote research in traditional medicine. The next initiative by the government is Ayush Grid Project. This is by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology initiative for Ayush sector digitization. And the last one is Traditional Knowledge Digital Library, and you know that there has been a question in the previous years over here. So this is a repository for traditional knowledge in Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, Sowa Rigpa as well as Yoga. The next article that we'll be discussing about is Center Mulls Rupees 1 trillion scheme for private sector to boost deep tech. Okay, so this particular article discusses about the union government that is considering a comprehensive scheme that will provide a concessional capital support of rupees 1 trillion to the private sector in order to encourage them to adopt the indigenous deep tech as well as cutting edge technologies in the field of defense and security, electronics as well as the energy sector. So in this particular article, we'll be discussing about what is deep tech, as whether it is a disruptive technology or not, and how it is actually different from that of the other conventional technological advancements and so on. And this can be mapped to current events of national and international importance under prelims as well as GS paper 3, indigenization of technology, for your mains examination. Moving on, if we see, there has been a previous year question in the year 2020 directly asked about the characteristic feature of artificial intelligence. So these kind of the technological advancements and their characteristic features become very, very important for your examination. So moving forward, let us actually see what this particular news is about. Okay. So, the government is considering a comprehensive scheme in order to provide concessional capital support of rupees 1 trillion to the private sector in order to encourage them to adopt the indigenous deep tech as well as the cutting edge technologies in defense, energy as well as the sectors of electronics. So, now it is important to understand what is this particular deep tech all about. Sometimes you can also, remember it as terms in news, because UPSC actually asks questions like, with respect to the term deep tech, which is often seen in news, which of the following is actually correct with respect to that particular term? So here this becomes an important point of discussion for your prelims examination. So now let us actually understand what this deep tech is about. So deep tech, or the deep technology, it encompasses a category of startup companies as well as innovations that are grounded in significant scientific discoveries or engineering advancements. Okay. And how is this different from that of the conventional technological sectors? Is that the conventional technological sectors actually focuses on incremental improvements over a particular product or the service. For example, if the product is X, there are incremental, or there is an incremental advancement over the years, that is as X plus 1, then X plus 5, etc. Okay. Whereas if you see the deep tech ventures, they aim to create breakthrough solutions and technologies that will offer substantial shifts in capabilities as well as performance. For example, the same product X, there will be an advancement to exponentially, like x power n and infinity, so on. Okay. So moving forward, if we actually look at this infographic, deep tech actually involves all these technologies like the blockchain technology, robotics and drones, quantum computing, photonics and electronics. We have the artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, Bard, etc. And then we have advanced materials as well as biotechnology. So now it is important to understand what are the key features of the deep technologies. The first one is high impact. Okay, so how it is actually high impacting is that the deep technology innovations, they have the potential to disrupt the existing markets, or they create totally entirely new ones, and they actually bring a significant change to lives, significant change in the economy, and significant change in the society as well. For example, introduction of chat GPT, that actually replaced a number of manual jobs, right? That is, it had affected employment, which is the economy transition. Okay. Now moving forward, the second one is long development cycles and scales. What is this particularly talking about is deep technology projects, they typically require more time in order to transition or transcend from concept to market ready product or services. So this particular extended development cycle, it is because of the complex nature of the underlying technology. Okay. And the last one is capital intensive. Of course, the amount of capital that is actually invested in deep tech is very, very huge because of the extensive amount of the research that is involved in the development stage. So these are the characteristic features of the deep technologies. Moving forward, now actually before looking into the major benefits of deep technologies, let us understand the status or the deep tech landscape in India. Okay, so India actually boasts over 3,000 deep tech startups, and the cumulative market size of this is around $14 billion. Okay. And also it actually has diverse number of applications in the field of chemistry, that is in the field of science, then it has in green energy, aerospace, etc. Okay. And the next one is, according to the recent NASSCOM report, deep tech startups in India had actually raised around $2.7 billion in venture funding. What is venture funding? It actually crowd funds. Okay. And it actually stands to around 12% of the country's overall startup ecosystem. So this is very, very important. Now moving forward, let us understand the major benefits of deep technologies. Okay. So let us see the major benefits is, first one is innovation catalyst. So what is it is, it empowers innovation with artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, etc. This positions businesses for global leadership in technology. Moving forward, the next one is enhanced competitiveness. This boosts India's competitiveness on global stage, enabling businesses to match international standards. The next one is improved decision making. It advances in analytics for data-driven strategies. This will improve efficiencies as well as the market responsiveness. And the final one is, it has competitive advantage, that is, it enables cost saving through optimization as well as automation, fostering industry leadership. The next article that we'll be discussing about is India's indigenous 5th gen fighter jet AMCA features, why it is important. So this particular article is in news because recently the Cabinet Committee on Security had cleared rupees 15,000 crores in order to design and develop India's AMCA, that is nothing but Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, which is AMCA. That is India's 5th generation multi-role fighter jet. Okay. So in this particular article, we'll be discussing about defense technology, and it is part of indigenization of technology, and we can map this particular topic to current events of national and international importance under prelims as well as GS paper 3, indigenization of technology, Indian Armed Forces, for your mains examination. Moving forward, there has been a previous year question in the year 2016 with respect to INS Ashtadharani, and here all these kind of warships, submarines, aircrafts, etc. are very, very important for your examination for both prelims as well as mains. Moving forward, now let us understand what this particular article is about. The Cabinet Committee on Security recently had cleared rupees 15,000 crore project in order to design as well as develop the AMCA, that is Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, which is India's 5th generation multi-role fighter jet. So moving forward, now let us actually understand about this particular AMCA. Okay, so DRDO will actually be the nodal agency for executing the program and designing this particular aircraft that you can actually see in this image. And it will be manufactured by our own, that is state-owned Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. And the aircraft will put India in a select group of nations that have their own fifth generation fighter aircraft. That is, this elite group actually consists of US, China, as well as Russia, which actually have their fifth generation fighters. And now India will actually join this group with the induction of AMCA. Okay. So moving forward, what are the key features of AMCA? Let us actually have a look. They have the stealth features, which is nothing but it has advanced stealth features in order to reduce their detection by the enemy radar, and it includes a 25-ton twin engine setup, which is larger than other fighters in the Indian Air Force inventory so far. Moving ahead, the fuels as well as the weapon capacity. This will actually feature a large internal fuel tank with about 6.5 ton of capacity and an internal weapons bay which is capable of carrying a range of weapons. And moving on, the engine technology that it will be using is AMCA MK1 variant will be powered by the US-built GE414 engine, whereas MK2 will actually utilize a more potent form of engine which has been developed indigenously. Okay, now moving forward, let us actually understand the difference between what are the first generation, second generation, third, fourth and the fifth generation fighter aircrafts. Okay, so here it's important to understand that the first gen fighters, which was actually used around the period of 1940s and 50s, they used turbojets for propulsion instead of the earlier pistol driven aircraft. Okay, and examples include the Mysteer 4, MiG-15, etc. Whereas if you see the second generation fighters, which were used in 1950s and 60s, they integrated new technologies, swept or delta wings and guided missiles for BVR, that is beyond visual range combat. An example is MiG-21. The next one is third gen fighters, which was from 1960s and 70s. This actually inducted improved radars, missiles as well as avionics. Whereas if you see the fourth generation, which was used in the year 1970s to the 1990s period, that incorporated fly-by-wire controls as well as multi-role capabilities, and best examples are Sukhoi 27, Mirage 2000, Tornado, F-16 Fighting Falcon, etc. Whereas if you see the 4.5 generation, 4.5th generation, that is from 1990s onwards, they use more advanced avionics as well as electronics with some stealth features. Okay, example is Sukhoi 30 Mk1 as well as Super Hornet, Typhoon, Eurofighter, etc. Now moving on to the fifth generation fighter jets. These are multi-role or swing role, but they also incorporate advanced stealth technology composition, and they have composite materials. It has supercruise, that is which achieve supercruise speeds without the use of afterburners. They actually use other characteristic features also like thrust vectoring as well as multi-sensor, etc. That is, overall they are trying to say that fifth generation actually are a more advanced feature. Okay, so now let us actually understand why this particular AMCA is actually special. First is because of its indigenous development. Okay, so the AMCA represents the country's capabilities in developing an advanced indigenous fifth generation fighter jet following the 4.5th generation light combat aircraft, that is Tejas project. Okay, what is this particular project? It was an indigenous 4.5th generation fighter aircraft, okay, which is a single engine multi-role aircraft, and it also actually enhances our strategic autonomy. That is, it represents India's move towards the strategic autonomy in defense technology as well as manufacturing, as we actually reduce our dependency on the external countries globally. So moving forward, let us actually understand a prelims fact, that is about the Cabinet Committee on Security. So this is actually headed by the Prime Minister. What is the function or the main objective or the role of this particular committee is that it discusses, it debates, and it is the apex body when it comes to the appointments of the officials in the national security bodies. It also makes all the important decisions on the defense policy of the country. What is the expenditure related to our the defense technologies as well as our purchases, and generally the matters of India's security. And moreover, if we see the members of this particular committee, it involves the Prime Minister of India, the Union Minister of Defense, the Minister of Home Affairs, the Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, as well as the Union Minister of External Affairs. So the next article that we'll be discussing about is former Supreme Court judge sworn in as the chairperson of Lokpal. So this article, as the title suggests, discusses about one of the former Supreme Court judges, Mr. Ajay Manik Rao, who has been appointed as the chairperson of the Lokpal in Rashtrapati Bhavan recently. So in this particular article, we will be discussing about what are these institutions of Lokpal and Lokayukta, their mandate and the objective behind which they were actually established. That is, the transparency and accountability dimensions will also be discussed, and this is important and can be mapped to Indian polity under prelims as well as GS Paper 2, statutory, regulatory and various quasi-judicial bodies for the mains examination. If we see, there has been a previous year question, especially in the year 2013 mains examination, where the question was on Lokpal, which reads, a national Lokpal, however strong it may be, cannot resolve the problems of immorality in public affairs discussed. So from here, we actually know that the concepts of Lokpal as well as Lokayukta are very, very important for both your prelims, especially your mains examination. Okay. So moving forward, let us understand this particular news and a broader perspective on the establishment and the historical origin of these particular institutions. So the former Supreme Court judge, Mr. Ajay Manik Rao, has been sworn in as the Lokpal chairperson at the Rashtrapati Bhavan recently. So now it is important to understand what is this particular Lokpal about. So the Lokpal and the Lokayukta Act of 2013, it provided for the establishment of Lokpal for the union as well as Lokayukta for the states. And they perform the function of an ombudsman. What is an ombudsman? It's someone who's actually appointed in order to investigate into the complaints against an institution and to seek resolutions to those complaints. So the organizations or the bodies of Lokpal and Lokayukta for the union and the states, they were actually established in order to perform the function of an ombudsman. That is, they inquire into allegations of corruption against certain public functionaries. And the motto with which they actually work is Ma Gridha Kasyas Vidhanam, which actually means do not be greedy for anyone else's wealth. So moving forward, let us actually understand the historical background and the genesis of these institutions. Okay, so the origin of the concept of ombudsman, it actually started in Sweden in the year 1809, and it was introduced in India by the law minister Mr. Ashok Kumar Sen in the 1960s. However, the term Lokpal as well as Lokayukta were coined by Dr. L.M. Singhvi, and following that, in 1960s, the Administrative Reforms Commission actually recommended the establishment of Lokpal and Lokayukta in 1960s. However, after long decades of struggle following the Anna Hazare movement in 2013, what happened? This actually led to the enactment of these institutions, that is the Lokpal and the Lokayukta Act of 2013. Moving forward, let us now understand the key provisions of the Lokpal and the Lokayukta Act of 2013. So, the first one is the selection committee. So, the selection committee actually includes the Prime Minister, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, the Chief Justice of India or a nominated judge, and one eminent jurist. So, this composition is very, very important. And moreover, looking at the structure of the Lokpal, we need to know that it is a multi-member body and it has one chairperson and up to 8 other members. And the chairperson can be a former CJI, that is a Chief Justice of India, the Supreme Court judge, or an eminent person with anti-corruption expertise. Next one is half of the members who are actually appointed are judicial. That is minimum 50% from SC, ST, OBC or minorities and women. And the judicial member of the Lokpal is either a former judge of the Supreme Court or a former Chief Justice of a High Court. So this is also important. That is the criteria. Okay. The next one is they actually serve a term of 5 years or till the age of 70 years. Next one, the jurisdiction of the Lokpal is that it covers the Prime Minister, the Ministers, the MPs and all other government employees. And also, this scrutinizes the foreign donations which actually exceeds an amount of rupees 10 lakhs under FCRA, that is the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. And if we look at the superintendents, it directs the investigative agencies, including the Central Bureau of Investigation, for cases referred by the Lokpal. Okay. Let's solve few prelims as well as a mains practice question. The first question reads, with the current advancement in blockchain technology, which of the following can it effectively accomplish? Secure peer-to-peer transaction, yes. Data integrity and verifiability, yes. Supply chain optimization, yes. Compliance automation, yes. Enhancing computational speed, no. So going by the options, the correct answer will be option D. That is 1, 2, 3 and 4 only. Moving forward, the second question reads, the term deep tech sometimes appearing in news is used in relation to, it is actually in relation to cutting edge technological innovation. So since option C is correct, the answer will be option C. Moving on, the third question reads, with reference to the Lokpal and Lokayukta Act of 2013, which of the following statements is or are correct? The Chief Justice of India is not a part of the selection committee of Lokpal. This is wrong. Lokpal has the power to scrutinize certain foreign donations under the FCRA, that is the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. This is correct. A minimum of 50% of the members of Lokpal will be from SC, ST, OBC, minorities and women. This is also correct. And the term of office for the Lokpal chairman is of 6 years. This is actually wrong because it is 5 years. So going by the statements, the answer will be option B, which is 2 and 3 only. Moving on to the fourth question, consider the following statements regarding the National Ayush Mission. It is a centrally sponsored scheme. Yes, this is correct. It aims to provide cost-effective and equitable Ayush healthcare throughout the country. This is also correct. The scheme is being implemented by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. This is wrong because it is Ministry of Ayush. And the resource allocation by the center to the states or the UTs under the scheme is proposed based on the population backwardness and performance of the state or UT. Yes, this is also correct. So since there are 3 statements which are correct, the answer will be option C. That is, only 3 statements are correct. Moving forward, the fifth prelims question is, consider the following statements about the Cabinet Committee on Security. It is an apex body for decision making on the defense policy and expenditure in India. This is correct. It is headed by the Union Home Minister. This is wrong because it is headed by the Prime Minister. So which of the statements given above is or are correct? Since the only statement 1 is actually correct, the answer will be option A. Now let us actually solve a mains practice question. The question reads, examine the challenges that have been faced by the gig workers in India in the light of gig economy's growth. Discuss the regulatory measures proposed by the government and Niti Aayog's recommendation to ensure their social security as well as welfare. So the approach answer for this particular question is divided into 3 dimensions, that is the introduction, body and the conclusion. So in the introduction, we will actually start the answer by briefly introducing the gig economy and its significance in India's employment landscape. So moving on, in the body, we will actually discuss the various challenges that are faced by the gig economy workers. That is the job insecurity, the lack of social security benefits, poor working conditions, limited career growth, etc. as we discussed in detail. Next, moving on, we'll talk about the regulatory measures as well as the recommendations by Niti Aayog. That is, we'll mention the provisions of the Code on Social Security of 2020 and 19. And we'll also mention about the e-Shram portal, that is various initiatives or the policies of the government. Moving forward, we'll actually go on to discussing Niti Aayog's recommendation, where we will discuss about the recommendations like Platform India initiative as well as the race approach. Okay. So we will conclude this particular answer by underscoring the need for comprehensive and enforceable policies in order to safeguard the rights and welfare of the gig workers, thereby ensuring that they benefit from India's digital as well as economic growth. Now we have come to the end of the daily news analysis. For regular updates, please do like, share and subscribe to Narayana IAS Academy YouTube channel. Thank you.